CHIPS Act 2 years later. It's been 2 years since President Joe Biden signed into law the CHIPS and Science Act, or Science Act. Over the last 24 months, the U.S. Department of Commerce has worked to bolster the domestic American semiconductor supply chain with more than $30 billion in direct funding to the chip makers. Since our outbreak of the COVID-19 shows how flawed the aggregation of a semiconductor supply chain is when battling a global event, lawmakers and chip makers and trade organizations in the U.S. push to the government to regain the foothold in the semiconductor manufacturing sector. We hope if something like this happens again and any other conflict or global event, not only will the supply chain be more resilient, but U.S. national security interests will remain intact with the regional manufacturing. Additionally, the boom is financially of making semiconductors domestically, from job creation to increased private investment, will help the country's bottom line. According to the Semiconductor Industry Association (SIA), since the CHIPS Act inception, over 80 new projects across the 25 U.S. states have been announced by those in the semiconductor ecosystem. This totals about $450 billion in private investment. These projects will also create more than 56,000 direct jobs and support thousands of additional jobs in the economy. The CHIPS Act has reached a preliminary agreement with 50 companies for 23 projects in 15 states. The mega investment. The biggest financial beneficiaries of the CHIPS Act so far, not surprisingly, are the major foundry vendors, either in the expanding operations domestically in America or building a completely new fabs from the scratch. The idea is that if the supply chain is located regionally in the U.S. and a geopolitical event in Taiwan or Korea happens, or export restrictions continue to hamper the relation with China, semiconductors will still be able to flow to the American interest. Of these mega investments, Intel garnered the largest direct funding with $8.5 billion. This will help the company. In Intel, the Intel Foundry, the chip-making arm of the company, is seeking to compete at a high level with the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company (TSMC) and Samsung Electronics, both of whom are seen as the largest and most advanced semiconductor foundries in the world. Speaking of the TSMC, it also received $6.6 billion in funding through the CHIPS Act to help with the final construction of 2 fabs in Arizona, as well as to begin its construction on 3rd fab at the location in the what TSMC claims is the largest foreign direct investment in the state history, as well as the largest foreign direct investment in greenfield project in U.S. history. The 3 fabs will create 6,000 direct jobs, as well as 20,000 accumulated construction jobs and tens of thousands of indirect supplies and consumer jobs. Samsung Electronics is also receiving CHIPS Act direct funding to the tune of $6.4 billion to help it complete construction of its Tyler, Texas facility. Samsung said it will invest more than $40 billion in the coming years that will help create 20,000 jobs. This may include the construction of other fabs in Texas, but the company has yet to announce any plans. Micron Technology also received $6.14 billion in funding to help construction memory manufacturing fabs in Boise, Idaho, and in Clay, New York. Micron said it will invest about $50 billion in growth capital expenditure for U.S. domestic memory manufacturing through 2030. So the pure play foundry, GlobalFoundries, was one of the first beneficiaries of the CHIPS Act with $1.5 billion to support 3 projects: expansion of its Marta, New York fab, the construction of a new fab at the Marta campus, and upgrades to its SS Junction environment facility for wide bandgap technologies. Smaller vendors. Large chip makers were not the only companies to get a CHIPS Act funding. Smaller foundries and semiconductor vendors also have received about $1.2 billion in funding. Smaller chip makers are also receiving funding includes the first recipient of the direct funding from the CHIPS Act, BAE Systems, with $35 billion to expand military and aerospace semiconductors. This was followed by the microchip technology investment of $162 billion to increase microcontroller manufacturing for automotive and industry and defense sectors. Japoro Semiconductor received $120 billion from the CHIPS Act to transform the company into a U.S.-based chip foundry. Red Hat semiconductor vendor Rocket Lab received $23.9 billion from the CHIPS Act, while Entegri received $75 billion in direct funding to support the construction of a new facility to support advanced material handling and micro-contamination control divisions. Other foundries that received funding include Rogue Valley Micro Devices with $6.7 billion to build what it claims is the first micro-electromechanical system, MEMS, and a sensor farm and the 300mm wafer capability. Global Wafers also received $400 million and to expand the product to the silicon on the insulated wafers. Finally, Amkor Technology just last month received $400 million to help in the construction of its $2 billion advanced packaging test facility in Peoria in Arizona. R&D and Tech Hub. As the Progresstone manufacturing project continues, we must also fortify the foundation with the essential research and development needed to fill fabs. R&D is the lifeblood of the semiconductor industry, and investments in this area will deliver step function gains that benefit the entire ecosystem to overcome unprecedented design and manufacturing complexity, as well as to foster the next generation of innovators, such as Sassine Ghazi, President and CEO of Synopsys. The good news is that a CHIPS Act is providing funding for this area with about $1.6 billion in funding for R&D initiatives. These 5 R&D areas fall under the U.S. DOC's National Advanced Packaging Manufacturing Program: equipment, tools, processes, and process integration, power delivery and thermal management, connector technology, and including photonic as annual ratio frequency RF, chipless ecosystem, code design and electrical design automation EDA. In addition, the CHIPS Act is helping to open 43 tech hubs across the U.S. that are designed to create jobs increase R&D and manufacture and commercialized and deploy technology to advance American scientific competitiveness. The hub will be deployed across 32 states and Puerto Rico in both urban and rural regions. What next? There will likely be further funding even in the future as the last of the $52 billion in the law is doled out. Likely to see more funding and companies, both big and small, as well as more tech hubs and R&D efforts. At this year's Intel Direct Connect in February, Per Gelsinger had a chat with the U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina M. Raymond on the Future on Chip Act. The Raymond said that another Chip Act may be necessary to continue supply chain diversification and reach a goal of 1/3 of all semiconductor manufacturing take place in the U.S. Raymond said that while there may not be a second Chip Act, something more may be needed to continue the momentum already gained from the law. Okay, today I read the article Chip Act 2 years later. Thank you for your time and see you next time.